Well, good afternoon, friends. Thank you for joining us today on Unbreakable Enterprises Unbreakable Podcast. I am Teresa Poor, founder and creator of Unbreakable Enterprises. And we are here, you guys. We are in the year we've been talking about, 2026, the year of alignment. And there are some big things happening as we go through this year and we start preparing for our big event, our conference, the year of alignment, where we're helping bring you back to alignment in business, life, and relationships. I think it's important to identify what are some of the keys. What are some of those things, those key drivers that help you recalibrate and get you back into alignment? And that's what we're going to talk about today with my special guest, Joe Gonzalez at Vera Bank, Vice President, Senior in Business Development. Joe, I am so excited to have you here with me today. Welcome to Unbreakable.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward
Yes.
to it.
Well, Joe and I have met at many different events. He is a busy guy. He is out there sharing trust with the world and the mission of Vera Bank. And I'm excited about the way you show up in the world.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm sure Vera Bank would greatly appreciate that.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. And I hope they find value in it as well. And I know they do, Joe. But as we were talking just a little bit, and I got to know you a little bit more today, and I love that these conversations give us a chance to get to know each other on a better level. One of the things that we talked about was how Vera Bank came into this market, right? And there's a lot of things coming into our markets right now, aren't there?
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
Many different industry, many different small businesses, and people from all over the world coming into our marketplace.
Yes. Especially here in Taylor, Texas, we're seeing all kinds of things. And, when I think about identity and I think about what it is that we do when we come into an area, our name many times speaks for us before we do. And you shared with me what the name Vera Bank means. And I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on that today.
Vera Bank is a name and a brand that we started about 7 years ago. Traditionally, we have always been I call it Eastern Texas Bank. Our headquarters is in Henderson, Texas. And we are a 96-year-old bank who 7 years ago decided to come into the Central Texas market and acquire a smaller bank. And we did that. At the time, our name was Citizens National Bank of Henderson, Texas. And so during that time, we were contemplating many different things, new market, just a whole new area, period. We realized that there were other banks that were basically named the same, Citizens National Bank, like the one right here in Taylor, Texas.
Yeah.
Well, we made the bold move of taking a good look at changing our name, and we did. We changed it to Vera Bank. And Vera basically means truth. And so it was a name that really stood out for us. We're a smaller bank. We're a bank that has roughly about 440 employees. And we stand very true to our customers. We stand very true to our mission and to stand true to what we do. We are a true community bank. And so the bank decided on this name, and over 7 years, it's really stood out. It took a little while for people to recognize us and realize who we were.
Yeah.
But with hard work, we are now recognized in Central Texas, and we've been very fortunate and very successful here. So I think we made a pretty good choice with the name.
I think you did. I also think it's interesting that we're at this season right now where all around us, there's things coming into the area. There's things that we are being exposed to that we've never really had to deal with. We've never really had these types of pressures. I'm thinking of AI. I'm thinking of, global transformation. I'm thinking of global acquisition into small communities, like so many things that we haven't necessarily been prepared for. And one of the missions that we're talking about this year, our theme for the entire year is the year of alignment. And one thing that I find so true in everybody that I work with, people that I'm coaching and businesses that I get a chance to work with, is that alignment always brings you back to your true place, right? When you get out of alignment, we find ourselves going from one direction to another. But when we get back to it, it's like we go back to our true north. And the facts. This is really cool. Like I'm just having a moment here. But this is so cool that your bank that has been true to who it's always been for over 90 years.
Over 90 years, we are going to be 96 years old this year.
Yes. But you made a shift, which has now positioned you to be in alignment with a place and a time that we are in our biggest recession, I think, that human have ever faced, which is a trust recession. And how cool is it that your alignment brought you back to truth? Tell me about what truth means to you.
Truth means, from my perspective, just simply being a very good and honest person.
Yeah.
And of course, keeping that core value within the institution.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, we're a true community bank. So we're a small bank, and we've always stood very, very true to our core. We have a vision, and that vision is to always keep ourselves grounded and always know that we are a community bank here for the people.
Mm-hmm.
We're very relationship oriented. And when you are a relationship oriented financial institution, people are going to look at you just a little bit differently just because they see you in the communities that normally are not serviced by some of the bigger banks or some of the bigger institutions.
Sure.
So they look for people that they can trust, that they can speak to, and to do business with.
Mm-hmm.
And so at Vera Bank, we just going back to the Depression, which when we actually were established,
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of families who established the bank with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
They went through a depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so by going through that, they knew that people needed help. So we've always kept that core value instilled in us from the very beginning, and we do it today. We pride ourselves. We're not a transactional bank. We're relationship oriented. And it's a great feeling because the emphasis is always the best service to our customers, whether you are a client of ours today or a client of ours tomorrow.
Yeah.
We keep those values.
I love that. And how does that feel to you? Being in the business world for many years, and we have staff members here, and there's always been this belief that you separate work from family and you separate work from life. But the truth that I found, Joe, is that you actually don't separate. When we try to completely separate things, we show up fragmented. We show up partially here, partially there. And for somebody who's working for an institution that's very core value driven, how does that feel for you and your core values?
I'll be quite honest with you. It feels great.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned this before we came on to the podcast, I'm sorry. I know it sounds cliche, but at Vera Bank and being with them for 7 years now here in Central Texas, it's really been about family. I mean, it really has. I've gone through a career of working for the conglomerate banks, the big banks, the medium-sized banks, and now the community banks.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I realize here at Vera Bank is that, and I love this because our HR director will always send this out on her emails, is that Vera Bank takes care of their employees.
Mm-hmm.
And they really and truly do.
Mm-hmm.
We have people with our bank who've been here 20, 30, 40 years. For myself, for example, 7 years. In the banking industry, it's common to move banks, every 3, 4, 5 years, just to go from one bank to another, thinking that there's a better opportunity elsewhere. But with Vera Bank, I really, in my opinion, for me, I just felt that one, it fulfills me and my core values. And as you said earlier, sometimes you try to separate yourself, but you really can't. Sometimes you'll bring that home. Well, working with Vera Bank, I feel that I have the freedom to do my job and then the freedom to go home in peace and be with my family.
Yeah.
And it's just been a joy working for them. I mean, it's given me a very different perspective on banking.
That's awesome. As being a leader in the community, people look up to you, right? And they look up to you for guidance. They look up to you for, oh my gosh, Joe, things are changing in the business community. What does that mean for me, right? And so when we talk about that relationship piece, that becomes a big piece of it. And I would love for you to talk about what has been, you had mentioned to me earlier that you came into this community as Vera Bank and before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, right before.
And in that season, everything was flipped upside down, right? Businesses didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. Individuals didn't know if they had a job or not. I mean, there were so many questions and so many fears and insecurities and just things that we didn't know. And during that time, what was an example that you can think of where your leadership hat kicked in and thinking of the name truth and trust, and what was a way that you were able to be that pillar of truth or trust personally? And it can be at work, it could also be in your family life.
Yeah, during that time, it was right before the pandemic and going into the pandemic. I had just taken a board seat at the Hutto Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned through the chamber and I also learned through Vera Bank was that going through the pandemic, right before the pandemic, yes, it was a little bit different. There was speculation there was going to be a lot of growth coming. Everybody was getting prepared for that. Very hopeful, very excited, great companies, great jobs. And all of a sudden we go into the pandemic.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I noticed about, Vera Bank and the chambers and a lot of the other community organizations as well, is that leaders stepped up to be accessible.
Mm.
And like, for example, with Vera Bank, one of the things that we did more than anything is, especially during the pandemic, is we became accessible. Yes, I'm a business development officer. Yes, I am out every day building relationships and meeting people. But all of a sudden during the pandemic, that changed.
Sure.
We became the individual that people would call, and they would call about, okay, what's about to happen? What's the bank doing? And we were very fortunate at Vera Bank to have really, and today as well, great leadership.
Mm.
Our CEO and many of the others at the bank at the executive level, and myself included, this wasn't our first rodeo. We had gone, my last one, with my first real big experience was the financial crisis.
Mm.
And so one of the things that I found that people really appreciated the most as a leader is being accessible, being able to talk frankly and transparent,
Mhm.
and just making sure that in any way that we could was to comfort them and to make sure that they understood exactly what was going on as we were going through it. During the pandemic, many things changed. So people, yes, in the very beginning, there was a slight panic, but we calmed them down. And of course, it got a little worse in the middle of it. But then PPP came along, the SBA,
Sure.
PPP came along. And that was a pivotal part of the pandemic for small businesses. And we went into PPP mode. And in our opinion, in my opinion, really, it was just, okay, this is exactly what we need right now. Figure this out,
Right.
get it to the people that need it, and let's get it done. And that was a huge comfort for many
Mhm.
people. It was a
Yeah.
relief, to be honest with you.
Oh, it was a tipping point of whether we stay in business or we close our
Or you
doors.
don't.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. We, with my husband's company, were a recipient of that. And I'll tell you what, it truly was a breath of fresh air. And so, yeah, I think if at any time you got to put that hero badge on, that was certainly one of those
That was
moments,
fun.
right?
Yes.
Wow, I love that. But it doesn't stop, right?
Yeah.
Leadership doesn't just show up in the middle of chaos. It shows up in the ordinary. It
Mhm.
shows up in opportunities. One of the words you just used that I love is transparency. It shows up in those moments when you're leading a new client through a journey of transition. Can you talk to me about any other areas where you see leadership being a fundamental piece, or maybe transparency being a fundamental piece of leadership?
With leadership, of course, transparency is always going to be one of the main areas. Of course, integrity,
Mhm.
trustworthiness, of course, clarity. But anytime that anybody goes through a transition, what I look in a leader is, can that leader take us through that transition?
Mm.
Is that leader a person that can have a vision, convey that vision, that message? And I know we're talking about alignment, but can we get that message to those who need to hear this message? And then for the alignment piece of it, are they going to understand it?
Mm.
Because without alignment, there isn't leadership, and without leadership, there isn't alignment. So the message has to be conveyed in a way that everybody understands it. And I know we talked about it a little while ago in reference to alignment, how people can be on a straight line and all of a sudden start to go from left to right. And then somewhere along the line, they come back. But I think if a leader has the ability to convey that message in the right way,
Mhm.
they'll, if they do in one way or another, go left or right, but they will come back to the middle because they understand it.
Mm.
And that's, to me, that's what a leadership is and alignment is as well. But it is actually through transition. And it's also through just every day, whether you're going through a crisis or not, people look up to your leaders. There's a huge expectation. Um, at the Hutto Area Chamber of Commerce, this is my last year of my second term, 6 years.
Wow.
Second year as chairman, and I spent 2 as vice chairman. And I can tell you that when I went from the vice chairmanship to the chairmanship, it was a big change. And you really don't think about it because you just think, oh, I'm sitting here at the vice chair. I kind of know what it is. I'll be able to handle it.
Until the spotlight's right
All
on
of
you.
a sudden, you're in the seat and all eyes are on you, and it changes everything in the good times and the bad times. But your leadership is expected. It doesn't matter what the climate is, the expectations are there for you. So if you're going to be a leader, make sure that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so many things that can go into that. And I think, quite frankly, we are all leaders, right? We are all given a very specific place that we're supposed to go in life. We're all given a vision and a hope for a future.
Right.
And our purpose, I think, our divine purpose is to bring others along with us, whether we have a title or not. It's to inspire others and bring them along. And Joe, I think you personally do a great job with that. I've seen your partnerships with Austin businesswomen and how you've shown up at events. And a leader, sometimes just your presence alone settles a room.
That's exactly right. The expectation is if you're a leader, you have to show up. And we talk about it all the time because all of us are so busy all the time. We were taking a good look the other day when we were kind of looking through all the activity in 2025 and how many, and I'm sure you've gone through so many, how many events that we go to, how many speaking engagements, how many just lunches. I mean, lunches alone, you just start looking at your list and you're like, wow. But at the end of the day, all I kept thinking about was, and I tell my wife this all the time, when I get home, I always say, I showed up. I was tired. I'm exhausted. I showed up.
Yeah.
And my wife says, well, that's exactly what they want. It doesn't matter what you say, but if you make the time to show up, it's a great appreciation. It is the presence, especially if you get to that level where expectations get a little high. And, like it or not, if you're going to be in that position, these are some of the things that you really have to do.
Yeah. Well, showing up is truly half the battle. I mean, New Year's Eve, it's so funny. I am not a night owl at all, at all. And in fact, I would love to be in bed by 9:30 every night. Like I'm okay with that. That's my thing. I'm up early. My brain is firing super early. Like, my husband's like, slow down. I'm still asleep, at 6 a.m. But on New Year's Eve, I was invited to go to an event, and that's not just any event. New Year's Eve events go until at least 12:01, right?
At least.
And I was sitting here thinking, not only do I have to go at night, but I also have to be dressed, right? Like, there's so many things in this. But Joe, showing up, number one, for somebody else says, I see you and I care.
Right.
And number two, when you're in the room, things change, right? When you're in the room, connections can happen. When I'm hitting snooze, there ain't no connection happening, right? Can you think of a time when you were like, oh, I did not want to be there, but because you were obedient to showing up, this incredible thing happened?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a night owl either. I'm like you. If I can go to bed at 9:30, I am ready for it. But I have been at many of these events where, you kind of think about it. It's like a situation where, oh God, I got to go, got to be there, got to dress up. It's not ordinary. It's a gala. So the dress code's a little bit different. The way you groom yourself is a little bit different, but you decide to go. And in your mind, you think, okay, well, I'll go and I'll make sure that I say hi to everybody that I need to say hi to. And the next thing you know, you're there. And then when you do get there, all of a sudden it's a room full of people. And it's almost like your second wind kicks in. It's like, okay, I'm here now.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. And all of a sudden, like you just said, something extraordinary happens. You know you're going to say hello to and greet everybody that you need to greet. You're going to have brief conversation, but all of a sudden, just out of the blue, you meet somebody completely different that you really never have met before, or maybe you're an acquaintance, and then you have a conversation,
Mm,
and it just changes the whole mood of the evening.
mm,
And it's one of those situations where it's such a great conversation. You tell yourself it was definitely worth it.
yeah.
And you go home with a smile. You were happy that you were there, as tired as you were, and as much as, well, I'm kind of thinking about not going, but all of a sudden you met the right person.
Mm,
And that can change everything,
mhm.
because everybody always tells you it's just when you go to these events, you never know who you're going to meet.
Right.
And it can change. I mean, it can change your year.
Mhm.
You're like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Especially when you're talking to somebody and you learn something about them that you never knew before, and you're like, "Really?
Right.
Wow." And all of a sudden, it just changes everything.
Yeah.
So, there were many times when that happens, but, I'm always, even though it's a situation where, yes, it's a lot of work, you have to put a lot of effort into it, it's pretty much always worth it.
Yeah.
It really is at the end. I actually like doing it. And then when you said something earlier, not a night owl, go to bed at 9:30. As you get older, it gets a little tougher because the energy level is a lot lower than what it was when you were 20 and 30. But I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Well, I certainly believe that most amazing opportunities come through other
Mhm.
humans, and we need each other. I mean, truly, when we think about getting into alignment, it's because each and every one of us are given a purpose on purpose, and it's to eventually reach somebody else. Like I think of people like I think of Thomas Edison, and I think of so many other people that just did amazing things
Mhm.
in the world. I think of Henry Ford. I think of Mark Benioff that we talked about that created and was a CFO for Salesforce. And oh my gosh, listening to his story, they all came out of inconvenience
Yeah,
for the whole purpose of literally being at a place where they're connected to somebody or something else bigger than them to change the world.
change the world.
And it's just phenomenal. But yet here we are. We talk a little bit about the evolution of cities and towns. We talk about the evolution of banking and what's happened over the past 90 years. Holy smokes, right? When you think about what banking looked
Mhm.
like 90 plus years ago to today,
Mhm.
right? And I love how you talked about started in the depression yet incredibly powerful in a trust recession. Like I think about those two things and what was the in between like, right?
Mhm.
What were those development pieces? Who had to show up to meet somebody else to make sure that you
Mhm.
guys survived to 90
Sure.
plus years? So many powerful things, right? Had to happen in that.
Across the board. I mean, that's one generation after another. And going through, all trial, tribulation, the growing pain that you go through, but just the time and the history of it. You go through a depression, and then you go through some great years. You start taking a good look at the years in the 50s and the 60s. All of a sudden, things just start to change, and the world's changing. Demand is different. The economies are different. You take a look at our political world. I mean, completely changing from what it used to be, what it is today, and the way things change every day. But what's really impressive is that, say, for example, with Vera Bank over 96 years, they've been able to adapt.
Mm,
And so when you start to really think about it, and I don't know much about Veribank going back that far, of who were the actual, the leaders and the president and the CEOs, but somewhere along the line, they kept that same vision.
mm,
And it was one person after the other. And of course, we are in a very different time today. So we're going to have to adapt, and we're doing that. And we're going to have to figure out how do we continue on that path. But we continue to do it with some very good people. And I just think at the end of the day, it really comes down to the people that you have within your organization.
mhm.
That is a big, for me, it's very important, because I've been in some really good organizations with some bad people,
Mm,
and we had so much potential. We could have done so much more. And then I've been with some organizations where I thought we didn't have a whole lot, but we did extremely well.
sure.
But it's the people.
It's the people.
It's the people. And, here at Vera Bank, that's one of the things that we stress every day. It is all about our people.
Mm,
Um, our CEO, I mean, that's one of the things that he talks about every day. It's about our people, and the service,
Mm.
and staying true to our values. And our values is kind of funny. We don't have a lot of, I would say, unique or profound, visions or mission statement, things like things of that nature. It just for us, it's just stay true to who we are.
Yeah. And
Stay
that's
true to
that's
who we are.
actually enough, isn't
That's,
it?
and for me, it's enough. It's like it's enough for me, uh, you know. And I greatly appreciate it. But we never really sway from that. But we also, we know that we are going to have to grow, and when
Mhm.
we do grow, we're going to have to make changes and adjustments. But we're doing it, and we're doing well. So I think we're in the right, the path to becoming a much bigger bank. But and people ask me this all the time because we're a bank of what, 4.3, 5 billion, 4.4 billion. People ask all the time, aren't you afraid about being acquired? And I take a good look at 96-year history and I tell people, no, I'm not. I don't know much about it, but I can say that I am sure at Vera Bank we've had a lot of opportunities to
Sure.
sell, and we haven't. And we're just staying very true to who we are. And that is just a big tribute to everybody who's come through here. And I just like the fact that we keep going in direction of our history. We stay true, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we have a lot of new employees coming in this year in 2026. And I tell people, you're going to like it here.
Mm.
You're going to get adapted to it. You're going to like it, and you're going to see that we really do believe in what we do and how we do it, and we are going to grow.
Mm.
So for the younger one, I tell them listen and learn and keep moving forward because I'll be out of here, in a few years. But at the end of that, you guys are going to take over. But I still want to see this bank doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being true to your core is such a big thing. As I was reading the book, The Trailblazers with Mark Benioff about Salesforce,
Mhm.
he shares this really powerful story about Toyota. And he talks about how Toyota worked and worked so hard to become the number one in car sales and production.
Mhm.
And for a
Yeah.
long time, they absolutely were.
Yes.
And then this moment happened. And in this moment, they had I think it was over 5 million cars recalled in
Mhm.
1 year. And the president of Toyota at that time paused for a moment and had to make a global reflection and actually like a declaration that says, we're sorry, we lost sight of our value,
Mhm.
and we put production over our core, which is trust. Right. And from that moment on, it's like they had this recalibration and they get back into
Right.
alignment with who they are. And I think about that right now, Joe. There's so many opportunities to pull people away from, and it's not an intentional pull. I think about it. I shared with you that in our chimney business, we just want to be experts on fireplaces. But we're forced to be experts on fireplaces, on Google Analytics, on social media analytics, on how our Service Titan software works, on human development, like
Oh yeah.
all the things. And if we're not careful, we can lose sight of why we're here to begin with. And so for us, we personally chose a recalibration about a year ago to say, oh, wait a minute, let's come back to who we are. And in doing so, you breathe fresh breath and fresh life into everyone around you. And I think that's the biggest sign of a leader is to be able to say, okay, maybe we got pulled off a little bit over here. Maybe the pressures of performance or the pressures of, not knowing what you don't know or whatever, the fears of being left behind, all those things that are screaming at people right now, right?
Oh yeah.
All those pressures, maybe they exist. But my job as the leader is to hold true to who I am and to perform at the level of excellence that I was expected to perform at from the one who gave me these hands to perform with to begin with.
Absolutely. In leadership, first and foremost, you have to know who you are
Yeah.
and who you represent. And then you're going to have to really know the institution that you represent. What is that institution all about? And it is very easy to be swayed to go one way or the other.
Mhm.
And it can be deliberate or it can be indeliberate. It can just happen. But the great leaders, in my opinion, like Toyota, for the example that you just made, they realize One, swallow your pride. We made a mistake. We made a mistake. And realize that we strayed away from our core values, from what we did best, but admitted it and veered back
Yeah.
to representing their core values. There was a CEO that I worked with when I was young, and we had just we were a very small company who just was acquired by New York Life.
Mm.
And this is the time back in the day when long-term care was really a product nobody really knew about.
Mhm.
So this gentleman, he wasn't from Austin. He was the CEO. They brought him in from Chicago,
Oh.
and he comes in. It was a very different person. You know, he wasn't a Texan. So
He wasn't kind. Is that what you're saying? He didn't carry our values.
no, he was a little very different. But you know, I really grew to appreciate him
Aw.
because as a leader, one of the things that I noticed about him every day was that he was a very people-oriented individual. He knew what the core values were because at New York Life, you know what those core values are, and you're going to abide by them. You're going to live them, and you're going to breathe them. So he understood exactly what he needed to do. But he took that and he took a good look at who he had.
Mm.
And as he did that, he understood all the employees and what their roles were,
Mhm.
what we could do and what we couldn't do. And then what he did is he instilled a plan to get the best out of all of us as a whole to contribute to those core values.
Oh, yeah.
But this was a person, you know, like I said, I was younger back then. I think I was in my late 20s and he was in his 60s. So it was a huge age gap. But one of the things that I really noticed about him is that he really cared.
Mm.
And in good times and bad times, because once you make an acquisition like that, it's very different. You're going through a transition now. Expectations are extremely high. You're working for one of the best companies in the world. You're going to have to do your best to be able to be successful all the time.
Yeah.
But I understood him because one of the things that he would do every morning, and this is why I admired him so much,
Mm.
he would get to work. He was just a very well dressed man, well groomed, very educated, very smart. And he would walk the halls of our floor and he would say good morning to every single person and ask them how they were doing.
Wow.
And then he would always ask if there's anything that you need, my door is open.
Mm.
And that was the really first time that I actually worked in the corporate world, worked with a leader that led like that.
Mm.
Sure, the expectations were there. You had to do a job, you had to do it very well. But this was an individual who actually cared and said, okay, if you don't go about it, you're alone. And if you need something, my door is open.
Mm.
And I was very impressed. And so when I saw that, I started to, it was, you know, you start to grow a little bit, and then you kind of start to hold others
To that
to
standard.
that standard,
Yeah.
and then you start to learn real quick what good leadership is and what subpar leadership is.
Mm.
But I never forgot him. You know, he's may he rest in peace. But he was just a great individual, though. He was just a great. He had a great heart, and just the fact that he took the time to go out there and speak to us every morning was really big because for us, it was a big deal. We're young, it's a big deal for us. We respected him and we always worked hard for him.
Yeah.
So if he needed something and we knew what we had to do, you talk about alignment. We had the vision, we understood it, we understood his personality, we knew what we had to do, and we did it.
It was easy to follow.
It was,
You had predictability.
yes. And you're right. I mean, for us, it was easy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is easy. And then you work for some of those who it's not so easy. It becomes, you get to that point where it becomes very difficult and you do start to stray.
Mm.
So you lose sight of that vision. You lose sight of that message. Your alignment now has been derailed. So it makes a big difference in the person, who that person is as a leader.
I think there's no coincidence that our business or our night for our conference, the Year of Alignment, starts with the business night because many times, I mean, think about this. How much time do you spend during the day at work?
Mhm.
And how much do we actually get to spend in waking hours at home with our family? So a lot more of our imprinting and our tone setting and all of those things happen in the workplace, right?
Yes.
And so the capacity and the responsibility of somebody, and I don't know that they talk about this so much in business school. However, I think they probably should, that when you're going in business and you're going to be a leader, there's a lot of responsibility on you that you may not have prepared for. And a big piece of that is that you're leading others, and the trajectory of their life many times sits on how you show up every single day.
Absolutely. When you take that seat as a leader, there are expectations.
Mhm.
People, I equate that to the first day that I took the chairmanship over at the chamber. And it was the first time that I actually sat at the front of the
Oh,
table.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
the head
it
chair.
was a little different.
Yeah.
And so here you are sitting at the front of the table, and now you have your agenda in front of you, and you have all of these individuals on the other side looking straight at you, every one of them. It's like, okay, start talking now, Joe, and get the meeting going. And but once you get it going, you start doing pretty well. But I had to understand that I am the person up here now who is guiding them through our new process, our new vision. How we're going to conduct ourselves, how we're going to change, go through a transition. What type of leaders am I going to be opposed to the leaders here before me?
Mm.
Um, the chamber, we chambers are very different because they're nonprofit. But when I started to think about what am I going to do? What is my vision for this chamber? We want to grow, of course, but how are we going to do that? So you have to put a plan in place. And then going back to leadership, having that vision, you have to convey it.
Mhm.
And when you do that, you have to have all the other individuals in that room understand it very well and then sign off on it.
Right.
Because sometimes you're going to have individuals who don't want to sign off on it. But if you have that majority, what I have found is if you can get the consensus going in your direction, others fall into play.
Mhm.
They'll come in and say, okay, we get it. And one of the things that we've done, and I'm very proud of this because we've come a long ways with the Hutto Chamber, is that we've grown, of course, and that's great. Monetarily, we've grown. Great board members now. We have a whole new select few of board members who've come on board and who's helped us tremendously. But we have an identity now.
Mhm.
The city now, the membership, the community, the people know that we're there, and that what's very important for me and important for our board to know is we're here for the people, we're here for the community. It's about them, and I always stress that it's about them. It's not about us.
Right.
We're here to serve them, so we keep that
Right.
in mind. And so, yeah, it was an experience because all of a sudden you're in that seat.
Mm.
And since then, I've had many colleagues, colleagues out in the professional world approach me and say, "Okay, I'm about to take a chairmanship. What should I expect?" And I'm like, "Expect expectations. Oh, and by the way, now you're the individual that makes the ultimate decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good, bad, like it or not, it's
Your
you.
name's on it.
Your name's on it. So you know what? Here, President Truman, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Well, it actually does because at the end of the day, when everybody leaves that room and you're sitting there and you're going, okay, here's the consensus. What am I going to decide? How am I going to do this? The question is, what am I going to decide? And you have to really weigh some. You're right, though. Just talking about this and responsibility, you really have to weigh it out.
Mhm.
You have to make sure that by these individuals putting you into that seat, they trust you to make that right decision because
Mhm.
it's just not about you.
Right.
So,
And I think, with that responsibility comes an ultimate responsibility of personal mastery,
mm,
right? That another thing I don't think is talked about enough in business school is to be able to master our mind, our will, our emotions, so that when we are tested and when we are put in those positions, we're not shooting from the hip.
right.
We actually have the ability to step outside of our emotions and see clearly what's needed in this moment.
That is very true. And you will be tested. And they don't teach you that. And that is something that experience brings. Um, I've been tested,
And you
face to face.
passed.
Yep. Face to face.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and sometimes you just have to really, everything that you've learned, you have to understand that there's certain things that you do say, certain things you do not say. And you have to stay very cool, very calm, and very
Mhm.
collective because when you're at that level, especially at that level, all eyes are on you
Mhm.
and you make one mistake. We talked about this earlier. You make one mistake, it could be over.
Mhm.
Reputation's everything, but you have to be very careful, and people will test you. But if you're the right person who understands and knows how to handle it, you'll get a whole different respect
Mhm.
because they will trust you. Here again, we go back to trust, but they will trust you.
Right.
They chose you, they trust you.
And that's, in the middle of a trust recession, to be able to be the one to say, I had the honor of being trusted
Mhm.
is a huge deal. Like that's a commodity that's highly rated right now and rarely given, right? And you think about that.
I think, well, first of all, just being trusted is huge. I don't think much about it because for me, it's just in my mindset is that's what I'm supposed to do. This
Mhm.
is how I'm supposed to do it. But people do trust you. And at the end of the day, if people can't have that trust in you, then who?
Right.
And you're right. Sometimes, like for me, I just take it for granted. I just look at it. This is who I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And the day is so busy and you're
Mhm.
doing so many different things and your mind is going from one thing to another, one phone call to another, one text to another, emails, communication, events, etc. You just have to be very careful on how you conduct yourself. But at the end of the day, like it's a great feeling if you just kind of step back every once in a while and accept it. But for me, it's a given. This is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. And I have friends who tell me this all the time. You just need to make sure that you understand that's who you have to be all the time.
Yeah.
And you see it a lot too. Especially today with social media. But you look at our public servants, our business leaders, and things that go on. I mean, I have people say, well, so and so goes on social media and they just go on rants, and all of that is being observed, and you
Absolutely.
have to be very careful. It's just the way it is today.
Right.
It's very different from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's like, oh,
I'm sitting here thinking, thank you, Lord, that you did not have social media when I
yeah,
was in high school.
yeah, okay, yeah, and it just certain things that we need to understand today, and just have to be very careful. But yeah, being trusted, it does feel good, but it is something that you have to earn for one,
Mhm.
and two, be very grateful that people look at you that way.
Well, I think, who better to say that than the person who handles money for a living, right? That's a commodity that people are used to
Hmm.
understanding a value exchange for, right?
Right.
I understand that I have to earn the dollar in order to spend it. Um, but you can go get a loan for dollars.
Mhm.
It's really hard to get a loan for trust, right?
Yes,
Let me borrow your trust so I can make this decision or whatever. But it is still something that is so treasured and so important. And in a middle of an ever-changing environment and an ever-changing culture, an ever-demanding culture, I think it is one of the biggest things that we have to have in order to get into alignment.
absolutely. In order to stay in alignment, you have to understand, what exactly you're aligning for,
Yeah.
and you really have to think it through.
Mhm.
Like you said, we in the banking world, we handle money. We handle sensitive documentation.
Right.
We handle so many different things that the individuals who become our clients give to us. And this is something that I've just don't really think about because it's a given for me. But I once sat down one day and I thought about this. I said, all of these people just give me all of their financial documentation. I look at it and they trust me with it. They trust the fact that I'm going to keep it private and confidential. And for me, it's a great feeling because, wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
That's an honor.
It is an honor and it's a lot. Um, because as I mentioned to you earlier, once you build that relationship with a client and they give you their financials, then you start talking about every little thing about their life, where they're from, their family, what they want to do, what's their next step in their life, in their business, their children, etc. That's pretty deep. And for people to trust you with that information, it is an honor. But it's also a responsibility on our part to make sure that we keep that the way it is.
Mhm.
It's very important. It's something that I know clients have a big concern about.
Sure.
So yeah, trust becomes very big in our world.
Yeah. Especially when we think about technology and AI and we see all these apps. I was creating something with an AI tool not too long ago, a survey. And I'm like, Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can create a survey in a matter of minutes with no programming experience, no da, da. And I just had a little desire to create an app. What if somebody had a big desire to create a hacking system? Like the ability for people to do things today that they've never had the access to do before puts us in even a heightened situation of risk and vulnerability. And the work that you guys do, Joe, and what you shared with me about your CEO's number one concern is safety and protection and trust and value. To me, that is something that you can't put a package around, because if somebody wanted to do something damaging, they're already doing it.
Yeah.
And trust, organizations like Vera Bank and places that take that as a top priority is very important.
It's extremely important because, like I mentioned earlier, it's not about us, it's about you.
Mhm.
And for you to come into our financial institution and trust us to help you with your livelihood, your business, this is say your family, and this is say college savings, wealth man, whatever the case may be, is a huge for us. It's a huge trust factor because it's like this is your life,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we get to know who you are,
Mm.
and it's an honor to get to know who you are. I for me personally, I just love having conversations with all of my clients, whether you're a client or a non-client. But I just feel that for us at the bank, even if you're not going to bank with us, I still want to be that person to give you the best information possible, and I really do want that individuals, those individuals to know that this is the type of institution we are,
Mhm.
and we not only talk about it, but we practice it, and this is something that we find very, very um, important, and it's something that we live and die by. I mean, we just do.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to have a lot of solid, good clientele, just wonderful people, just trust me to be their banker and to be a part of our institution, and for me to be a part of their lives. I mean, it's you're right. I mean, it's an honor. Something you just made me think about that now. Is like I did never really think about it very often. It's just I almost, like I said, I take it for granted,
Sure.
and a lot of it is just this is what I do for a living, so it's my job,
Mm.
and I hate to use that.
I think it's
It's
your
my
calling,
job.
Joe. I really think
It
it's
could
your
be a
calling.
calling, but it's just one of those situations where it's like, I'm supposed to be doing these things. This is what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
but I like it too. And that's one of the things that I know when you mentioned to me what the podcast was going to be about was leadership. In reference to leadership, leaderships, you have to have conviction. You have to want to do it,
Mhm.
and that's a leader to me.
Mhm.
Sometimes we always think about people taking a board seat here or a leadership role here just to put on your resume.
Or to do somebody else a favor. Listen, if
Or
that's
that,
your attitude, you're
yeah,
not doing anybody a favor, right?
that's true. I mean, and you see it all the time,
Yeah.
and I hear it all the time. Yeah, for profit, nonprofit, government, across the board, and you hear it all the time. Well, yeah, like 18 members on the board, and three of them do work,
Right.
you know, and you hear a lot about that. But you have to have conviction. You have to want to do it, and you can tell because if you're the individual who wants to do it, big difference.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. It's a positive.
Mm. Mm. Well, Joe, I think you gave so many amazing nuggets for people to just dig their teeth into as it relates to leadership. Thank you for showing up the way that you do. I mentioned that, but one of the things that I think is so valuable with this conversation and the way you show up in the community is that you're authentic. There's no
Thank you.
pretentiousness. There's no wall of I'm the banker, and I think that is so comforting for people, and your ability to be genuine, that is something that is a badge also that you get to wear. And maybe you take that for granted as well because it's just part of your DNA.
Right.
But it is seen and it is felt and it is appreciated.
Well, thank you. Um, I will say that everything that I do is very genuine because I like doing it.
Yeah.
Like we talked about that earlier. There's going to be certain times when you're very tired and just like, do I go? Do I not go? But there's something deep down inside that tells you, you got to go
You gotta go.
and you're going to go. And a lot of it too is because you really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, it's about conviction, and it just all my life, I've often enjoyed just being around people. I love conversation. I love to listen. I love to learn. I love people's stories, And then, all of a sudden and people always kind of go back and tell me this all the time. It's your upbringing.
Mm.
You grew up in a family that was, they were a very given family. It's just like, yeah, we were always helping people. If we could help people, we did.
Mm.
And you don't think about it, especially when you're young.
Yeah.
When you leave the nest, you're like, okay. But as you get older and you get that experience, that's what it's all about,
Right.
And I always tell people we're very fortunate in Central Texas and Texas that we live around really good and nice people. Um,
Not the ones from up north.
no, it's funny because I come across a lot of people from all over, and the common theme is everybody's so nice here.
Yeah, I
I
get.
get that all the time, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
And I've been in New York and Miami and Seattle, and yeah, go to California, yeah, you rub, and you're like, oh my goodness, a little bit different. It's not the same.
No.
Here we're very laid back, but I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a huge compliment because one of the biggest reasons I've stayed in Central Texas for so long is because of the people.
Right.
Just love it here.
Wow. Well, you keep being you and the good people will follow because that's what you attract.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank you for everything that you do.
Oh.
I know I just met you a short time ago and I've learned a lot. I've been following you, of course, on LinkedIn. And I've attended a couple of events with you. I'm looking forward to attending events in the future with you. But just learning a little bit more about you and what you do, you're a very good person yourself.
Oh,
I
thank you.
think you provide a lot for a lot of people, and it shows in your events. I mean, it's for me, it's incredible when you go to an event and it's sold out,
Yeah.
and everybody there is just happy. They're willing to. Everybody wants to have a conversation. They want to learn. They want to be a part of it, but they want to be a part of your message. So there you go. You have the vision. You're a leader, and I will say thank you for every one of those people out there who can't say thank you today.
Aw. Well, thank you.
Of course,
That's wonderful. It's a pleasure and an honor to be chosen to have the opportunity to give, right?
that's
And I
true.
think, yeah, we're all chosen. And one of my favorite scriptures, Joe, is the harvest is plenty and the laborers are few. And so, whatever you're chosen for, we got to get up and do it.
You got to get up and do
We got to get up and do it, whether it's 8:30 at night or 8:30 in the
it.
morning.
You have to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Now, please tell us briefly, how can people find and connect with you?
Well, of course, I'm with Vera Bank. You can always go to their website, go to our website, and I'll be there. I'm on LinkedIn, so you'll see me there. And all community events. I mean, I do a lot of events in Central Texas. I do a lot of work in Williamson County. Um, as part of as something that I like to kind of plug in a little bit is the Hutto Chamber of Commerce, just because this is my last year as chairman. But I'd love for people to come to some of our events. This year is going to be a little bit different in 2026. We've grown quite a bit, so we're able to do a lot more now. So we're going to have some really key events throughout the year. But there's a couple of things that I do on a quarterly basis, and one of them is as what I call coffee with the chairman.
Oh,
So, if you ever see that online, or if you ever want to get just curious about myself or curious about the chamber, feel free to register and come see us. It's a lot of fun. It's just a place where people can come and one, mostly business owners who do show up. They talk about their business and what they're doing, how they're doing it. But a lot of them come there to hear, about the chamber, what we can do for them. But a lot of advice. As a banker, that's one of the things that I will do. I love to advise and love to consult. And if I can help you in any way, just feel free to reach out.
awesome.
Feel free to reach out.
Well, it's Joe Gonzalez with two Z's.
That's
And we'll make
correct.
sure that we connect all of your socials on this podcast. Well, thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you for inviting me. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, friends, I know that today's talk has inspired you. It's inspired you to maybe go back into those places and revisit what your core values are, or maybe the organization that you're connected to. What are their values? And what are some of the distractions that might be getting into the way that may be pulling you or your team or somebody out of alignment? Because this is the year that good things are supposed to happen. Joe talked about good things happening in Hutto and the Hutto Chamber, but what about good things happening where you're at? Good things happening in your business, good things happening in your life, in your family, in your community. Well, they certainly can. And in order to get them to be the best, we want to get into alignment with who we are. So thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. And certainly we look forward to seeing you at Unbreakable 2026, the Year of Alignment Conference in Cedar Park, Texas, January 29th through 30th. Until we see you next time, keep building